The day my mother laughed while signing her name under my savings account was the moment something inside me went cold. Not angry, not shocked, just cold. Like my body finally understood what my heart had been refusing to accept for years. "You're overreacting," she said, pushing the pen back toward me across the kitchen table. "It's just money. You'll make more." I stared at the paper, my name printed neatly at the top, the balance lying glaringly empty. $27,000 gone. Every overtime shift. Every skipped vacation. Every night, I fell asleep exhausted, telling myself it would be worth it someday. She leaned back in her chair like she'd just finished a harmless favor, sipping coffee from my mug. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I nodded once, folded the paper, and stood up. That was mistake number one in her mind. She mistook my silence for weakness. My name is Lena Brooks. I'm 24 years old, and until that moment, I thought loyalty meant endurance. I thought being a good son meant absorbing damage quietly so the people you loved didn't have to. I was wrong. I'd moved back into my childhood home in Cedar Ridge 2 years earlier after college, telling myself it was temporary. My plan was simple. Work full-time at a logistics warehouse, save aggressively, and move out within 18 months. My mom, Denise, sold it as a team effort. "Just until you're on your feet," she said. "We'll help each other." Help each other turned into me paying the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, and half her credit card bills. She said it was because things were tight. She said she'd pay me back. She said a lot of things. At first, I believed her. After my dad died, the house felt hollow, and she played that card well. "It's just us now," she'd say whenever I hesitated. "Family doesn't nickel and dime family." So I didn't. I handed over money. I let her handle the finances because she insisted she was better with paperwork. When I opened a separate savings account, she convinced me to add her name, just in case something happens to you. I didn't see the trap. I saw my mother. The withdrawals started small. A few hundred here and there. "Emergency," she'd say. Then bigger amounts. "Temporary loan." I asked questions once. She cried. Accused me of not trusting her. So I stopped asking. Until the day I logged into my account at work during a lunch break and saw the balance at 0. I confronted her that night. That's when she laughed. "Relax," she said. "I needed it. You live here. You owe me." That word stuck. Oh. I packed a bag that night and left without telling her where I was going. I slept on my friend Marcus's couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation where she'd framed sacrifice as love. By morning, the shock had hardened into clarity. When I went back the next afternoon to grab the rest of my things, I found something worse than an empty savings account. A letter addressed to me sat on the counter, torn open. Past due notice. Not for utilities. For a personal loan I'd never taken out. I flipped through the stack of mail she'd left behind. Credit card offers. Medical bills. Another loan notice. All in my name. My hands shook as I sat on the edge of the couch, surrounded by proof that this wasn't just one bad decision. This was a pattern. She hadn't just taken my savings. She'd taken my identity. That night, I didn't sleep. I pulled my credit report and felt physically sick watching the score drop with every page. Accounts I didn't recognize. Balances I couldn't explain. Missed payments I'd never known existed. When I showed Marcus the next morning, he didn't sugarcoat it. "Evan, this is fraud." "She's my mom," I said automatically. "And she still committed fraud," he replied. "Those things can both be true." That sentence followed me all day. I replayed years of being told I was responsible, mature, dependable. All traits she'd praised while exploiting them. I wasn't her son in those moments. I was her safety net. I started documenting everything. Screenshots. Statements. Emails. I opened a new bank account she couldn't access. I redirected my paycheck. I froze my credit. Each step felt like betrayal and relief tangled together. I didn't confront her again. Not yet. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at work. Her name flashed on the screen. I let it ring until it stopped, then texted her asking what she wanted. The reply came fast. Why is the internet shut off? I can't work like this. What did you do? I stared at the messages, heart pounding. I'd removed my name from every shared account quietly, methodically. I'd stopped paying without announcing it. I'd let reality catch up to her. I stepped outside, called her back, and listened as she launched into a frantic rant about outages and late fees. They said the account holder changed something, she snapped. Fix it. I didn't change anything, I said calmly. I just stopped paying. There was a pause. Then a sharp laugh. Don't be dramatic. You've always paid. Not anymore. Her voice dropped, dangerous and slow. You think this is funny? No, I said. I think it's overdue. She called me ungrateful. She reminded me of everything she'd done for me. She said I wouldn't survive without her. I let her talk until she ran out of breath. Then I said the sentence that finally broke the illusion she'd been living in. You took what I worked years for and laughed. This is me letting you hear the consequences. She hung up on me. That was the moment I realized this wasn't going to end quietly. And I was done protecting her from the fallout of her own choices. And it was only the beginning. My name is Lena Brooks, and for most of my life, I was taught that love meant staying quiet while someone took from you. After that call, the one where my mother slammed the phone down instead of apologizing, my days settled into an uneasy calm. On the surface, nothing dramatic happened. No screaming matches. No surprise visits. Just a growing pile of unread messages and missed calls from her number lighting up my screen like a warning sign I refused to touch. I moved out of Marcus's place and into a tiny rented room on the edge of town. It wasn't much, bare walls, a bed that creaked every time I shifted, but it was mine. No shared accounts. No guilt disguised as gratitude. Every bill had my name on it because I chose it that way. Meanwhile, my mother spiraled. She started calling relatives. I didn't know that at first. I only found out when my Aunt Rachel called me one evening, her voice already sharp with accusation before I could say hello. Your mother is sitting in the dark because of you, she said. Do you have any idea how cruel that looks? I closed my eyes and leaned against the wall. Did she tell you why the lights were turned off? She said you abandoned her, my aunt replied. That you took money and ran. I felt something inside me harden again, the same cold clarity I'd felt the day my savings vanished. She stole my money, I said quietly, and she opened accounts in my name. Silence crackled on the line. Lena, don't exaggerate. I'm not, I said. I have statements, credit reports, loan notices. Another pause, heavier this time. Well, she said finally, your mother is under a lot of stress.
So was I.
I just hadn't been allowed to show it. That night, I pulled my folder out again. The one I'd labeled nothing at all, because naming it felt too final. Inside were copies of everything she'd touched, every signature that wasn't mine, every bill she'd ignored until it became my problem. I realized then that if I stayed quiet, she'd control the story. She always had. Tears, panic, and selective truth were her favorite tools. And people believed her because she sounded wounded. I stopped waiting. When she called again 2 days later, I answered. Are you enjoying this? She snapped. Watching me struggle? I'm watching you face your own bills, I replied. The ones you told me to grow up and handle. You're punishing me, she said. This is revenge. No, I said. This is separation. She laughed, sharp and humorless. You think you're so independent now? You wouldn't have survived without me. That old reflex flared, the urge to explain, to justify, to soften my words so she wouldn't explode. I ignored it. You didn't support me, I said. You used me. Her breathing changed on the other end. I could tell she was shifting tactics. So you're really doing this, she said, quieter now. After everything I sacrificed. You didn't sacrifice, I said. You transferred. She hung up again. The next escalation came fast. A certified letter arrived at my new address. Inside was a demand for payment on one of the fraudulent loans. I called the number immediately, heart racing, and explained the situation for the 10th time to a stranger trained to sound sympathetic but unmoved. "You'll need to file an official fraud affidavit," the woman said, "and identify who opened the account." I stared at the wall. "If I name her? Then the investigation will follow that trail," she said gently. "We can't protect both of you." I filed the affidavit that night. A week later, my mother showed up at my work. I saw her through the glass doors during my break, pacing the lobby like she owned the place. My stomach dropped, but I didn't turn around. I finished my coffee, wiped my hands, and walked out to meet her. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired, furious, cornered. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded, not even bothering to lower her voice. "People are calling me. Banks. Credit companies. I can't breathe." "You're breathing just fine," I said evenly. "You just can't hide anymore." She stepped closer. "You think they won't come after you too?" "I know they won't," I replied. "Because I didn't do it." Her eyes flashed. "You're really going to destroy your own mother over money?" I held her gaze. "You destroyed our relationship when you decided my future was yours to spend." People were staring now. I didn't care. She left without another word, but the damage was done. By that evening, my phone was full of messages from family members. Some angry, some confused, a few cautious. I replied to exactly one. "If you want to know what's happening, come see the proof." I invited them all to Rachel's house that weekend. My mother included. She arrived first, sitting stiffly on the couch, arms crossed, playing the part of the wounded parent. When everyone else arrived, she didn't look at me. Rachel started the conversation, voice tense. "Lena, explain yourself." I placed the folder on the table and opened it. "These are the accounts opened in my name," I said calmly. "These are the balances. These are the signatures." The room fell silent as pages changed hands. That's not Lena's handwriting," my cousin murmured. My mother stood abruptly. "You're all being manipulated." "Then explain this," I said, sliding the loan document forward. "Explain why my credit score collapsed while I was paying rent, utilities, and groceries here." Rachel looked sick. "Denise?" My mother's face twisted. "We were desperate. You were comfortable," I said. "I was drowning."
The doorbell rang.
Rachel frowned. "Who else did you invite?" "The landlord," I said. He stepped in, awkward but firm, and explained that my name had been removed from the lease weeks ago, that the overdue balance now belonged to one person. My mother's face drained of color. "If the amount isn't paid," he said, "we'll proceed with eviction." She turned to me, eyes wild. "You planned this?" "No," I said quietly. "You did." She left that house shaking, furious, exposed. 3 days later, my phone rang from an unknown number. "Lena," she said, voice broken. "They're here." And that was the call that changed everything. The morning my mother lost the house, the sky was the color of wet cement. I hadn't slept. I'd been lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every version of this moment I'd imagined over the years. None of them prepared me for how quiet it felt when it actually happened. The call came just after 9. Unknown number. I already knew it was her. "They're putting my things outside," she said. Her voice sounded thin, scraped raw by hours of crying. "The couch. The boxes. Everything." I said nothing. "I told them it was a misunderstanding," she went on, desperation slipping through each word. "I told them my daughter would fix it." I closed my eyes. "I'm not fixing this." A long pause. Then a bitter laugh. "You really did it. You took everything from me." "No," I said gently. "You spent it." She inhaled sharply. "Are you happy now?" I thought about the nights I'd cried in my car, calculating which bill I could delay without everything collapsing. I thought about watching my savings disappear in real time. About the laugh. The way she leaned back in her chair, certain I'd stay no matter what she took. "I'm relieved," I said honestly. Her breath hitched. "Relieved," she repeated like the word hurt more than anger ever could. I didn't dress up the truth. I didn't soften it. I'm relieved I don't have to carry your life anymore. In the background, I heard voices. A man asking her to sign something. Another person moving furniture. The sound of an ending that had been delayed for years. You could come, she said suddenly. See what you've done. I know exactly what's happening, I replied. I just don't need to witness it. Her voice dropped. You're heartless. No, I said. I'm finally done being yours.
She didn't respond.
I could hear her breathing, uneven and shallow. Then she asked the question I'd known was coming. Do you even love me? The words hit harder than the accusations ever had. For a moment, I couldn't speak. I leaned against the wall, sliding down until I was sitting on the floor. I do, I said quietly. That's why this hurts. Then why, she whispered. Why let it get this far? Because loving you almost destroyed me, I said. And I didn't want to disappear, just to keep you comfortable. She started crying then. Not the dramatic sobs she used when she wanted an audience. This was different. Smaller.
Broken.
I didn't mean to ruin you, she said. I just didn't know how to survive. You chose survival at my expense, I replied. Over and over. Another voice interrupted her. Ma'am, we need to finish up. I have to go, she said, panic rising again. They're locking the door.
Okay, I said.
Lena, she added quickly. After this, after everything, what happens now? I thought about that for a long moment. Now, I said, we live separate lives. She made a small sound, like something inside her cracked. So that's it. It doesn't have to be forever, I added. But it can't be like before. I won't give you money. I won't fix your messes. I won't take responsibility for your choices. If you ever want a relationship, it has to start with accountability. She didn't answer.
Goodbye, Mom, I said.
The line went dead. I stayed on the floor for a while after that, phone still in my hand. I expected triumph, satisfaction, something loud and dramatic. Instead, I felt tired,
sad,
and strangely light. Over the next few weeks, the fallout rippled outward. Some relatives stopped calling. Others reached out quietly, apologizing for not seeing it sooner. My Aunt Rachel invited me over for dinner and didn't mention my mother once. That silence felt like respect. The investigations moved forward. Accounts were closed.
Disputes resolved.
My credit didn't magically heal, but it stopped bleeding. For the first time, there was a future I could actually plan for. My mother sent one last message from a new number. You won. I hope it was worth it. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. I didn't win, I typed. I survived. Then I blocked the number. Sometimes I still think about her. About who she was before grief hardened her into someone I had to escape. About the version of her that tucked me in at night and told me everything would be okay. But I also think about the version of me who learned too young that love came with invoices and conditions. And I choose her now. The truth is, the revenge wasn't the power going out. It wasn't the eviction. It wasn't watching her face consequences she dodged by hiding behind me for years. The real revenge was this. I stopped letting her define my worth by what I could give her. She once told me I owed her everything. Now, every bill I pay, every plan I make, every quiet night I sleep without fear proves her wrong. And that's something she can never take from me again.